the graduates from the National Police Service is that at the time of recruitment of the police service, there was an indication, there was a circular that anybody who has a degree and enters into the police service automatically is promoted to a cadet police officer, gets the salary and the rank of a police officer. Many of our clients took loans to start pursuing their degrees, and once they got their degrees, they were allowed to receive the emoluments or the salaries of graduate police cadet inspectors. Suddenly, without notice, without any reason, the National Police Service Commission decided to recruit directly from the public graduates to join in. Then they deducted the salaries of those who have been in service. Remember, they have been receiving the salaries of graduates. They have taken loans based on the pay slips. They have taken mortgages based on the pay slips. They have committed themselves based on the pay slips. So these officers had a legitimate expectancy that they will continue earning the salaries and allowances of graduate police officers. The National Police Service has now done the worst by reducing them, demoting them to constables, and deducting their salaries, which is contrary to the International Labour Organization Convention and other labor laws. So we filed that matter so that they can be reinstated back to their officer, to their ranks. This has affected the morale within the police service. This is likely to affect especially the Kenyans at this time of the festivities, when we need police services to be alert, to be vigilant, and to be motivated. So we file our matter. We are expecting directions from the court, because that is fundamentally an abuse on the human rights violations of these police officers.
Thank you. Now, reduced to its core, the lion in the room, or the elephant in the room, is that in the year 2013, when the National Police Service was recruiting police officers at the rank of the constable, there was a promise. There was a promise that indeed upon the employment of the constable police officers who had degrees, then their salaries will be commensurate, or will be equal, or will bear in comparison with that of an inspector of police. So those were the initial employment terms that were given or issued to these constable police officers who had degrees, and who, due to this promise, volunteered themselves to be rained on at night when all of us are asleep, to protect us when we are at the risk of danger, all in the name of enjoying, at the end of it all, a salary that is commensurate to that of an inspector of police. However, in very unexplained turn of events, the National Police Service reviewed their salaries downwards, without notice, without any alert to that effect that they were going to reduce their salaries this year. And that is what has prompted us, in the interest of these individual police officers, and in the larger interest of police officers who, upon graduating and attaining a degree, sought to be employed as constables and to enjoy these salaries. These people, the effect of what we are seeing right now is a government that is not keen on respecting the labor laws or the labor principles that are there as per the Constitution. It will be remembered that even the government of the day is entirely bound by the Constitution, as it is a creature of the Constitution that we have today. And therefore it is expected that at the very least, in ensuring that we promote and we respect and observe the fair administrative action, then at the very least these police officers ought to have received a notice that there will be at a certain time a reduction of their salaries, because this is a decision that is likely, or it has affected their income as police officers. Secondly, we have, as Senior has spoken, As a country, we are also bound by the international laws. There are international labor laws that govern the relationship between an employer and an employee. And therefore, it is said, which is an international principle, which of course it is borrowed from the reading of Article 25 and 26 of the Kenyan Constitution, that we are bound by these international laws, and therefore you cannot negatively reduce the salaries of an employee, at least not to its detriment. And at the very least, it must be explained to them. And therefore, what we expect in the fullness of time is that the court shall breathe life into the labor laws that we have in this country. The court shall breathe life into the constitutional provisions that are there. Let us not lose sight of the fact that even while we have sometimes the excesses of the police officers are people. They are nationals, they are citizens of this republic. They are entitled to the fruits of the Constitution as it was promulgated in the year 2010, the 27th day of August. Thank you.
So our instructions are to challenge the decision by the employer to deduct the salary of the employees. Essentially, as a fair labor practice, employer ought, not only an employer, any public body ought to offer any person to be affected with adequate notice, right to be heard when a provision of the law is to be affected to their detriment. What we are facing now is a situation where the employer, being the National Police Service Commission, has reduced the salary of graduate officers who were employed in the year 2014, having graduated and undertaken all the trainings that were required. So this reduction was done without any notification, without any hearing on how it's going to affect them, and they just saw it on their payslip. So these are decisions that is beyond the provisions, the constitutional protection, and the constitutional and the labor provisions on the fair treatment by the employer. So we are yet in court to challenge that decision, and this calls for all the employers and all the public bodies that they are not to act above the law, they are not to act above the constitutions. They have a duty to act in good faith and to act in a fair manner that does not prejudice all the employees. More so during this time of festive season, it is expected that all the employees and all the employers are going to interact in a manner that does not infringe the rights of either party. So we are in court yet again to challenge the decision, the unilateral decision by the employer to change the terms of the employment, reducing their salary without engaging or without hearing from the employee.
Lastly, we have seen an upsurge of violence and misuse of firearms by the police, using the state guns against their wives and their children. Nobody has really understood the type of depression, the type of pressure the police are getting. Here is a family of a policeman who has been providing food, who has been providing rent. Remember, they are no longer given facilities for accommodation. They pay for themselves. They are paying school fees for their children. They are feeding their wives. All of a sudden, the salary of a policeman is now negative 20,000. What will stop this police officer from taking the gun and turning it against his family and himself? What will stop this police officer from taking the gun and turning it against the members of the public? Because remember, the public is the employer of this police officer. So we are calling upon the National Police Service Commission to take this matter so urgently, because we are likely to see a lot of pandemonium within the police force, and it will affect the security of the nation, and it will totally disintegrate the family unit under Article 46 that protects the family of police officers. We hope the courts are going to intervene. This is not a new matter. When Kenya passed the new constitution, the salaries of the judges who are serving were supposed to be reduced, but the courts refused to reduce the salaries of the sitting judges. arguing that those who were serving, their terms must be maintained. That is the same provision we expect in the court, but they will administer the same principle be administered to themselves when it comes to the police officer, so that we don't have discrimination, that because these people are police officers, they should be discriminated. They are our citizens, they are brothers, they are our children, they are our fathers. We are the employers. As citizens of this country, we demand that they get a fair share of what is